Welcome to another episode of Roundtable. I'm your host, JD Wessel. Schools are all in session across the state of Missouri, and as university students get settled into their homes for the fall semester, it's important for those to remember to keep safe while the COVID-19 virus infiltrates Nottoway County. Joining me today on the program is Hannah Lucas, an Assistant Resident Hall Director for Hudson and Perrin. Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
So Hannah, first off, what kind of things do you do as the resident hall assistant?
Yeah, I'm in charge of overseeing our desks in our in Hudson Perrin, and I'm also in charge of all the programming that the RAs do on the floors. If you ever lived in the dorms, you know they do like fun socials and more things like developmentals about learning things. So I'm in charge of making sure they actually do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so how has dorm life changed for you and also all the other RAs and students that are in these dorms?
Yeah, it obviously looks very different. I would say one of the biggest changes is we all have to wear masks while we're in the building, and which is weird because we have always said, you know, your dorm is your home, and now you have to wear your mask in your home, which is a little weird, but the same in the sense that you're building those communities and making those connections, but you just have to change a few things and tweak a few things. So,
I mean, obviously it's disclosed information on the COVID cases or whatnot, but how would you say the students have been handling mitigations inside of the dorms?
Yeah, I would say they're doing pretty well. We've had a few people who just keep forgetting to wear their masks. It's a hard adjustment. But, you know, when they run to their bathroom, we have to remind them, put your mask on. You can't be in the halls without it. But I really think people are taking to it pretty well and understanding. In HP, we just did a program where they wrote why they wear a mask, like I wear a mask for, and then they put someone they wear a mask for. So I think that had a really big impact on people.
That's awesome. So have you guys been able to do any events, like maybe online, Zoom? I know me and my buddies, we've gotten together and just had Zoom calls just to kind of connect with each other still, even if guys are in quarantine or whatnot. What have you guys done for events or just kind of gatherings?
Yeah, so it looks a little different, not very different. It's kind of up to the RA if they're comfortable meeting in person or not. But we've definitely done some virtual movie nights, a lot of grab and go things. So we just had RAs do crafts grab and go. So they got like all the materials to take back to their room and do with their roommate. But yeah, it depends on the RA what they want to do and what they're comfortable with.
For sure. So I don't know if you've done any events with just what you're doing, but how do you think the students have connected with that? Do you see changes with students making friends during these calls, or you know, do you feel the same type of relationship with meeting these students this year compared to years before? Yeah,
so I don't put on events anymore. I'm like above the RA, but they put on all their events, and since I'm not in that position anymore, I don't see it as well. But what I've heard is that those connections are still being made, and people are still doing pretty good at meeting new people and all of that. It just looks a little different, but I think ultimately the goal is still the same, to build that community, and I think we're achieving that goal thus far in the semester.
For sure. And being in your position, we like to talk about the rules, and do you agree with all the rules that are in place? How do you think Northwest has been working with this? Do you think it's been successful so far? What do you think?
Yeah, I would say I agree with all the rules. I think some of the rules we need to look at and actually see the impact, the intention versus the impact. Some of them, you know, were rash decisions to kind of think we're doing something, but I think they're having a little bit of more of a negative impact on mental health and things like that, just with like isolation kind of things. But I think they have the right intentions with everything they're doing, and they're trying to keep the student body safe. I think we also maybe need to work on, not even in the dorms, but around campus in general, on like actually implementing them and enforcing them, because it's not enforced everywhere. And I think that's something we need to have a united front on throughout the entire university.
For sure. And you just touched on it now, like across campus. Again, maybe some people not following all the mitigations, but just across campus, being on campus this year, what has that been like? What are maybe some things that you've seen? How's that experience been?
Yeah, I think in my classes, a lot of them have been moved online, but if I go to class, people are really good about it in the classroom setting, but as soon as they're released, they have this whole new mindset of I'm not in class, so I can't get in trouble or no one's going to say anything. So I feel like I'm seeing a lot of people around campus outside, because people think COVID doesn't affect you outside, so there's no masks outside and stuff like that. I think in the classrooms it looks really good, but outside we have some work to do.
And let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about what dorm life has been like at Northwest so far in this fall semester. You're watching Roundtable on KNWT, Channel 8. Welcome back to Roundtable. I'm your host, JD Wessel, and again, joining me tonight is Hannah Lucas. Hannah, it's been awesome here talking with you tonight. So let's just hop right back into it. So first off, take us through the different mitigations or I guess rules for you guys in regards to the dorms. How's that been?
Yeah, so a few different angles we can take on this is with the residents, there's different rules than the RAs. So starting with the residents, well, I guess everyone on campus, the biggest one is obviously the masks and the social distancing. Obviously, masks are required indoors at all times, so it's looking different when people want to go to each other's rooms. If you're running to the bathroom really quick, you still have to put on your mask. I'd say that's one of the biggest ones. Another big one is our guest policy has changed within the dorms or residential halls. You're no longer allowed to have outside guests in. If they go to school at Northwest, they can come in. And if they don't go to school here, unfortunately, they can't come. So no more parents coming into the dorms, no more siblings, no more significant others coming over, which has been really hard navigating for the RAs because it's hard to know who goes here and who doesn't. But, you know, it's been hard even for the RAs because they live alone and they can't have people from the outside coming up. That also looks different in Roberta. Right now, Roberta has a policy in place for you can't have anyone that doesn't live in Roberta in the building. So anyone that's in your sorority that doesn't live in Roberta can't come in, which has been hard, but it obviously at the beginning of the year was put into place for specific reasons of the spike in numbers in Greek life. But looking at RAs, we are no longer allowed to hang out with each other, really, because we don't want a whole team to go down. If you think about one person in Hudson Perrin who has like 15 RAs, one person gets COVID, that's 15 residential people going down, which would not be good. Res halls would probably get a little crazy. We're also no longer allowed to hang out at the desk. I don't know if you've ever seen this when you're in there, but RAs like to kind of hang out at the desk and enjoy their time together and bond, but that's not really allowed anymore. So there's just a lot of different things that we're all kind of trying to adjust to. But I think we're doing a good job. Some high spirits still, so.
For sure. And so with that being said, obviously it's a big difference from, you know, years before. Even when I was a freshman, all of us freshmen, you know, the time in the dorms is the time to, again, meet everyone, be able to be together. I remember me and my friends going down, playing ping pong, and, you know, that's where we met eventually now, our roommates we live with now. So it's real crazy, but why would it still be worth the time of the students to live in the dorms with all these rules this year? What's your pitch?
Yeah, I mean, living in the dorms is super important. It's a very important part of your college experience. I mean, we can look at the numbers. If you live in the dorms, you're more likely to get higher grades. You're more likely to return to campus the next year. So just those are still in place. I mean, if you're on campus, you're closer to your classes, you're more likely to go. You have the support. It's an easier transition from freshman or being a senior in high school to living on your own. You've kind of have that, not parent figure because your RAs aren't your parents, but like someone to go to for advice and stuff. And I think it's really important to still have that experience because you can still have those ping pong nights and stuff like that. They just look a little different. You have a mask on and you probably don't get in huge groups. I mean, there's no rules against how many people you can have at the ping pong table, but it just looks different. And I think it's still important to get those experiences. And I think you can still meet those kind of people that you want to live with, the kind of people you want to hang out with for the rest of the time here at Northwest and build those connections. And not only to each other, but to the campus. You know, if you can't feel like you're comfortable on campus, you're not going to come back. So it's important to build that connection.
For sure. And if you could, what would maybe be some things that you wish were different about COVID? Obviously, it's had a pretty big impact on everything across the world, but what's maybe something that you'd wish was a little different even with COVID?
Yeah, I think it's a hard question because obviously there's so many answers, but they're just not, valid because I would rather our safety over, hanging out with my friends, which is hard to say. But I think one thing we could have done better is there's other campuses that have only one person in each dorm, and they start at the beginning making those cuts. It's kind of harder on us to contain COVID-19 when we have 500 people in one building instead of 250 if we halved it, So I think that's one thing we could have changed. We are where we are, and it seems to kind of be working out. We're not seeing huge numbers anymore, so I think that would be the biggest thing I would change. But obviously, if I could have anything I wanted, I'd make COVID-19 go away and be able to, hang out with my friends and do all that kind of stuff. So
for sure. And unfortunately, I think we are out of time, but Hannah, again, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, for more information about Northwest COVID-19 mitigations and procedures, the university has created an FAQ to answer your questions on dorm life and the university policy amidst the coronavirus. We'll be back next week with more talks that inspire. For Roundtable, I'm JD Wessel. Have a pleasant evening.